Lakers now have 3 of the top 4 active career assist leaders. LeBron at 2, Russ at 3, and then Rajon there at 4.
That's a great stat. Come on.
And if that wasn't enough,
Can they trade for CP3?
The Lakers, guys, now have 6 players. Did you see this? From the 2012 All-Star team on the roster just before AD wasn't even drafted into the league. This was before that.
And all you got to do is reverse a couple numbers, and suddenly it's the 2021 All-Star team.
There you
now
go. Always thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool.
That's wild.
Yeah. I'm not sure it's good, but it's cool.
Look at how young Marc Gasol looks.
Yeah, they're babies.
Looks like he just woke up.
They all look, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Brez, I want to start with you. We're going to talk the assist offensive side first. When you talk about the active assist leaders there, the offense should be pretty free playing this season.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about any bogging down. That's for sure. We saw that in the playoffs against Phoenix. Granted, there was no AD at the time, but a couple of long droughts that really kind of did in the Lakers on the way to that 3-game losing streak in that series. The ball kind of got stuck, didn't really move a lot, and I think that's a part of the permanent task as far as this roster is constituted. So many good ball handlers. And again, will Rondo be logging 31 minutes a night? Absolutely not. But still, between Russ and LeBron and Rondo, there's going to be a lot of dimes on this team, that's for sure.
If guys move. I think that's if they're not necessarily going to always have the spacing, you know, like when Westbrook's on the floor, that's the concern, everybody. If everybody moves, even on a tighter floor, they still should be able to find guys because LeBron's such a good passer, because AD's a good passer, Westbrook. So if they're moving, they're going to have open opportunities. And if you are one of the shooters on this team, one of the designated guys whose job that is, you're going to get a lot of wide open looks, wide open, like scary wide open, like on an island where if everybody's going to laugh at you if you don't make it.
If you don't make it, so, that pressure's a little different.
It is.
You know, Golden State just a few short years ago with KD and Steph and all those guys, their standard was 30 assists per game. They wanted to do that. I think these Lakers should try for something like that as well, and they'll probably be able to hit it on plenty of nights.
Russ going to try that for himself.
By himself, right?
BK, how long do you think will it take chemistry-wise for this squad to come together? As you've heard, I feel like you've heard the veteran group speak a lot about how elite they are, the experience, and kind of that. How long do you think it'll take?
I think the comp is a couple of years ago, the title season. We thought it could take a little while. They came out of the gate very quickly. It came together very quickly. I think something like that could happen again this year, where at the very least the results are good right away because it's a home-heavy early schedule against teams that, quite frankly, aren't that good, you know, by NBA standards. So they'll have an opportunity to practice a lot because they'll be at home, which I think will help, and then get out on the floor and build some chemistry against some weaker teams. And so there's a very good chance, actually, that it could come together quicker, I think, than some people are expecting, especially since, you know, the guys who are leading it, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, these are smart basketball players.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's pretty seamless. If they really are about that one goal that they all say, to win a championship. More news. Could the Lakers be looking for more players? Brooklyn Nets center DeAndre Jordan has been said to be a strong candidate to join the Lake Show if Brooklyn and the big man can reach an agreement on a contract buyout. DeAndre has averaged just under 8 points and 8 boards the last 2 seasons with the Nets. Let's take it one step further. Also on the rumor mill, Kevin Love has been connected to a potential buyout. However, he has expressed no interest in wanting to leave or take a buyout from Cleveland, according to Woj and ESPN. With the uncertainty, Brez, of Marc Gasol, any of these 2 names attractive for you?
Kevin Love in particular. Why? Because he stretches the floor. The Lakers cannot have enough shooters on this roster, and he's one of those guys that definitely could help them in that aspect. Look, he had a bad season. I'm sure he'd be the first guy to admit it, and he has a lot of money left on that contract. 2 years, it's way up there. It's going to take a lot to buy him out of that $60 million that he's owed. But before last season, before he was injured, he had a bad calf injury, his 3 years before that, he averaged 17 points and 10 rebounds a game, and he can shoot the 3. He's close to 40%, been close to 40% in a couple of his seasons, and I think he'd be a nice addition to this squad. If they do get DeAndre, it'd be more like the JaVale and Dwight team. That turned out pretty well for them, too, a couple years ago.
Yeah, good rebounder, Love, good passer. He has kind of that feel of like what Blake Griffin might do, like, you know, kind of resurrect. I am not in love with the DeAndre Jordan thing. I actually like the idea of Gasol with Dwight.
Yeah.
Just because I
like the
feel
floor
like
spacing.
you have a
Opportunity.
one center who can space the floor a little bit. DJ, who can still rebound a little bit, can still defend a little bit, but not the guy he was in LA. I would just, of these two, I would rather go for Kevin Love if you had an option.
I'm sensing some
I'd
high
argue-
love LA tie-in for you with Kevin Love. There's something there.
UCLA, Russ.
I'll find some nice things to say if they come back with
I'd also
DJ
argue
in a few weeks, but
Yeah.
you know, I'd rather have Mark.
The last 3 seasons for Kevin aren't really I think he still has a lot to offer the game. You remember he went 4 straight trips to the finals, and then within a matter of a month, they went from continuing to be a championship team to rebuilding.
Right. There's something.
So the situation's a bit
There's something
different
about
for Kevin.
getting on a good team.
He will not be on the team at the end of next season.
Time for a break, but when we return, we're talking the potential of the young guys and the impact.
The Lakers don't just have a lot of great vet players, but they have some younger guys that are full of potential. THT scored 9 points on 46% shooting. Kendrick Nunn and Malik Monk averaging double figures while being efficient from outside the arc. So we do talk a lot about how old this team is, and rightfully so, but the Lakers have some young talent with potential on this team when you think of Nunn and THT and Monk. Brez, how do you see each of these guys kind of making their mark on the roster? And I guess the second part of that question is, how do they get minutes to be able to do that?
Yeah, great question, particularly for Monk, who really has to be offense if indeed he's going to stay in the rotation, maybe even see some spot starts here and there. THT, I think, is the key of those three. A, he's the 4th highest paid player on the Lakers, and B, we saw enough from him down the stretch to think that this kid really could be something special at the NBA level. Need to see a little bit better outside shot from him, but really impressed by THT's finish. Kendrick Nunn, though, to me, he is the X factor for the Lakers. I love the pickup. A lot of people thought they would get Patty Mills. He chose Brooklyn. Not long after that, the Lakers said, fine, we'll take Kendrick Nunn. Good young player, 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting to a guy named John Morant just a couple years ago. He's got talent and a pretty good defender, too.
How do you see these guys making their mark?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think you're exactly right about THT in terms of kind of being the linchpin there, just because he can, play a little point guard. Yep. He can play the 2. His arms are 74 feet long. He can play the 3, depending on the right lineup. And so I think that sort of multi-positionality that he offers is the wild card in terms of how these minutes are going to break down. I also love the Nunn signing. That was my favorite of all the things that Rob Pelinka managed to do this offseason. Great offensive player coming off the bench, and I do think an underrated defender, certainly a neutral defender. The Monk thing, I think, is just fascinating, Mike, because he made a massive bet on himself to come to LA and play on this team, go try to win a championship.
With all the veterans.
With all these veterans, and if it works, you can see how it could go. Great season last year in Charlotte. I could also see him being completely buried on the bench.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. And listen, of the Lakers' young core, there's now, we have to, it used to be Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, so you got to shift now.
Of course, you can be about 33 and be part of their young core.
That's actually a great point. When you look at Kendrick Nunn and THT, they both have playoff experience from their rookie year. Kendrick Nunn, you heard him right there. He was playing in the finals. You remember THT, his rookie year, people barely knew who he was outside of the G League, and there he is against Houston playing crucial minutes. The goal for an individual and the goal for a franchise is to develop your young talent. How are they able to do that, Brez, on this team full of veterans? How can they reach their full potential?
Well, I think if the young guys, in particular Nunn and THT, play well, it's going to be trouble for some of these older guys. Maybe Wayne Ellington doesn't get as much playing time as expected. Maybe a guy like Kent Bazemore. He's totally a guy who could be in the starting lineup on opening night. But if like a guy like THT really starts playing well, Baze could get less minutes as the season goes on. It's going to be hard. I don't remember seeing a team that is so black and white as far as a lot of older guys and younger guys. Nobody really in between. There's no sophomores and juniors in this Laker university. It's all 5th-year seniors, maybe even grad students and freshmen at this level. Like five-time doctorate candidates. It's funny talking to Rajon Rondo. He said he's the 6th oldest guy on this team. Think about that. I mean, there's a lot of older guys on this team and some younger guys too, though.
So when I think of expectations for these young guys, what Brez was just talking about there in reaching full potential or developing, as we saw when the Lakers pivoted and started to build this roster around AD and LeBron and it leading to a championship, no longer was it about the young guys. I mean, ask Kyle Kuzma. You're all of a sudden expected to be a veteran on this team. So is it hard to manage that?
It is, but the Lakers need these guys to be good. If we reach a point midway through the season and it's only the older guys and those are the players who are contributing, something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
The Lakers paid THT because they expect THT to be able to contribute. Yeah. Kendrick Nunn got their big exception with the idea that he's going to come in and play a really big role, not just backing up Russell Westbrook, but I think playing alongside of him.
He could start
in a lot of different lineups. Like, they need these guys to come through and play well so that they don't have to be as reliant on some of these veteran players who might be a little bit more limited in the minutes they can take.
Of the young guys, there's one that we know. He's a homegrown guy, and he's been a part of this rotation, especially last year, and as we just talked about in the playoffs, for a little bit against Houston. That is THT. But as we've said on this show, the Lakers have invested in him. They believe in him. There's a reason why they did that. He took a big leap from that rookie year to last year. What about his third year? What are the expectations for him in your eyes?
He's got to improve his shooting. If he really wants to be a steady part of that rotation. 28% for three-point range. That's just not enough. He actually decreased. He fell a little bit from his rookie year to last year behind the arc. He just has to get a little bit better shooting. Mid-range as well. You can never let that go with the new kid. And hopefully he's been working on it. Hopefully he has seen that this team signed a lot of shooters, but they're kind of the older types. If they can't play defense, Frank Vogel, very defensive-minded coach, as we all know. He might say, all right, you vet, you're shooting, but you can't play D. Give me Talen Horton-Tucker, younger, more agile perhaps, can play defense, but can he shoot? That's the key.
I'm glad Brez brought that up. Defensively is where he has to separate.
This is the thing with all of these guys, but particularly THT. When you try to figure out who's going to be the closing lineup, who's going to be the starting lineup, what's going to happen in between, all that, it's all predicated on defense. Can Malik Monk defend? Can Kendrick Nunn defend? And can THT defend? If those guys step up and THT is the kind of creator on the offensive side of the ball, but gives them switchability on defense and can guard multiple positions and stay where he's supposed to be and be, at the very least, neutral defensively, he's going to play a lot. Same with Nunn, and that's how Malik Monk is going to get on the floor, too. If those guys don't defend, that's where they're going to lose their minutes, and that's where the job gets more complicated for Vogel.
All right, guys, stay right there. On the other side of the break, we're talking Carmelo Anthony and what...
There was a new sighting at the Lakers facility on Monday. New Laker addition Carmelo Anthony was at the UCLA Health Training Center putting up shots for his first official workout as he prepares for Lakers to go after their 18th championship title. Now, the last two seasons with the Trailblazers, Melo has averaged 14 points on 43% shooting from the field while hitting 40% outside the arc on 28 minutes a game. Melo shared his excitement to put on the purple and gold.
My first time here in the building, at the facility, on the court. Still trying to get my bearings, wrap my head around the fact that I'm wearing this purple and gold. But my first workout here went great today. Felt good in here today. Felt good being in here. Again, it's just like any other court, but when that purple and gold is different. It always been, it always has been, and it always will be. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. I wish my fans could see me in here working, but just know that I'm in here working. I'm home now. It's still August, going into September, but I can say I finally made my way back into this building, on this court. It's been a long time coming, so I'm excited about it. The fans, you guys should be excited about it as well. Laker Nation should be excited about it as well.
Melo entering his 19th season. Most players dream of this opportunity, by the way, to play for the Lakers, the purple and gold. Only just a little shy of 2 decades for his career. It's finally here, BK.
It took a little while. It seems like they've been working on this for about a decade, but it's very cool. I mean, again, we've talked about it with Rajon Rondo, other guys who have an enormous amount of respect around the league, and it's hard to find anybody who other players respect more than Melo. And for him to be here with an opportunity to play a legit role on a title-winning team, change some of the conversation around him. He's really remade himself into a role player in ways that nobody expected. The potential for a great story here, in addition to a guy who really can help them from the perimeter and as a forward, but the potential for a great story here as part of this season is one of the things that I'm really excited about.
It seemed like there were Kevin Garnett rumors to the Lakers every other year during his entire career, and it never happened. So for Carmelo, a guy who's had maybe not quite as many trade rumors to the Lakers over the years. For him to finally be here, you could see his excitement. You could sense his jubilation. And by the way, his last 2 years in Portland, pretty good. I mean, he was a good scorer. Really worked on his three-point shot. As you said, Allie, 40% behind the arc. That's what this franchise needs. Guys who can score, guys who can shoot, and some defenders too. You probably won't hear us talking about Carmelo that much in that vein of his game, but still, the fact that he's here, I'm excited for him, and you can sense that he is ready to play.
Let's talk about his offensive game, if you will, just for a minute. His points per game over the last handful of years has dropped a little bit, but it's Carmelo Anthony. He's still an elite, efficient shooter. When you think about the players now around him, how do you think that they'll impact his game?
I think they're going to get him a lot of shots. Like, I think it's really important that Carmelo Anthony be put in the positions where he can be most effective at this point in his career. He is not an efficient isolation player anymore. I'm not saying there are going to be times when he gets down on the block, sees a mismatch, and goes and takes advantage of it. But for the most part, on this team, his role is going to be a guy who can set up in the corner, along the perimeter, and take that open shot. That's really what he did last year in Portland, how he's remade his career, and what they need him to be doing here. There will be moments, games periodically, where he rises up and plays a bigger offensive role than that. But I think for it to work as effectively as possible, he's a shooter. That's really why he's here.
It's one thing he said in our one-on-one, without hesitation, just get open.
It's that simple.
Sometimes, yeah.
And you know what? It's going to happen for him, too. He came from a pretty good system in Portland, two really good guards in the backcourt, joining a LeBron and Westbrook, and, of course, AD. I mean, he's got to be foaming at the mouth. This is a big step for a guy who, like you said, Allie, his 19th year in the NBA. That's crazy. I feel like he graduated Syracuse or left Syracuse in like 1977. That's how long ago it feels.
He's on Brez's eight-man football team.
He basically was. We would have loved him. He could play quarterback. He could play tight end, whatever he wanted for us. But, you know, it's a nice little pickup for the Lakers. And, again, the price is right. A veteran's minimum contract for about $2.5 million. A good bargain for the Lakers.
Absolutely. We've got more on this edition. All right, time to play a little fast break season prediction style. We're going to start with you, Christopher McGee.
Oh.
LeBron edition. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
How many minutes does LeBron play this season?
4.
33 last season.
My turn.
When he came to the Lakers, it was a career low 35. Then he went to 34. This past season, he was a tick under 34. I think this year, LeBron is 33 minutes career low.
Oh.
Yep. 33.
His career is 38.
33 and a half, I'm telling you right now. They're not going to need him to play 39.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm thinking like 31, maybe even 32. I mean, there's a reason you got Russell Westbrook. It's not just to be a good ball handler and a feisty guy on defense. You want to give LeBron some breaks in the game and maybe even some games off, too. So I'm going to go low 30s.
You look unhappy with us.
BK?
Do you want to play 40 minutes?
The man is putting in 3 days to come in and play 31 minutes?
Oh, you don't like 33?
How about
BK?
32? Is that better?
Wow.
I mean, why would you want him to play? Tell him to stay home. Don't do 3 days. Do 2. That's
See,
fine.
You guys just don't want him to play at all.
33?
Yes, I don't want him to play at all.
Moving on. LeBron will average at least 7.5 assists this season. Count it or doubt it.
I'm counting it. I think he's actually going to average 8 assists per game.
In only 31 minutes a game.
He's going to play 33 and a half. He said 31.
I said 31.
Yes, he's going to get 8 assists in 33 minutes. Absolutely.
See, I'm going to doubt this. I'm going to go under again. Again, hopefully, in the Lakers' perfect scenario, they win without LeBron putting too much miles on the odometer.
Yeah, let me know when you get down back from La La Land.
Yeah.
So the ball is
I'm thinking like seven assists a game.
I'm sorry, fast break counted. How many tentpole franchises are we trying to work into one segment?
We could play over-under,
I'm going to go.
I just asked
I'm
the
going to go under.
So doubt it.
Are we going to play what the numbers is at some
BK,
point?
you're really playing this game. You're dead out. Go ahead. Throw numbers.
How many points does LeBron score versus the Cavs this season?
Cleveland Cavaliers?
Yes.
I think he's going to have a season-high 42, because what's his name? Is it Jason Hillman? The guy who works for the Cavs? He's going to say something stupid. Someone like Richard Jefferson, a former teammate, is going to tweet something stupid, and LeBron's going to go for 42, and it'll be a season high against the Cavs.
42.
Yeah, follow that up.
I'm thinking like 81. Why not? Match Kobe. Do what
now
he did.
We're just dropping.
You know, why not? Let's see. We know he's
The
still upset the Cavs.
the answer is 14, because they're going to be up by 40 in the fourth quarter.
And he's only playing 12 minutes a game.
Right.
Okay.
42 in a close game in Cleveland.
I hope they clip this and send this to LeBron. How many games does LeBron play this season?
He's only going to sit out 9 games. He's going to play 73 games this year. He's going to play. He's only going to sit out a handful here and there.
Yeah, I'm kind of
He's
with
not
you.
getting hurt this year.
I'm kind of with you. I'm going to go 75. I think he and AD both should say that that's kind of what their goal is. Sit out 7 each. You know, punt 1 or 2 at the end of the season if you're comfortably ahead in the standings. 75 sounds about right to me, BK.
He'd have played 75 last year were it not for Solomon the Assassin Hill. And so I think 74, 75, somewhere in there is
He should
totally
be playing all
reasonable.
82 at the 12 minutes a game you guys
Let
have him
the
at.
guy take a break, for God's
How
sakes.
will LeBron, who
Kelly
will
wants
LeBron,
82
Why do you
games,
hate
48
him?
minutes a
Let her
game.
speak. Go ahead.
who will LeBron's biggest matchup be, Keeter?
It's not even a question. It's the Nets. It's KD. It's Kyrie. It's James Harden. It's not even worth answering. You guys don't even need to answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why this game's on Christmas Eve. I mean, Christmas Day. Be nice if I could talk. But yeah, you want KD versus LeBron. You want those guys to go head-to-head. And, of course, adding Russell Westbrook to the mix. Well, Russ versus KD.
Allie
Can't
thinks
wait.
it's the Cavs. She's got him going on for
I do.
54 minutes and 96 points in
That's
that
where
game.
it's
You know
at.
what my
It's
runner-up was, though?
What?
The Warriors. They're back. Fun. Laker-Warrior rivalry is back.
Nobody
I like that
asked you
one.
to answer the question twice.
Well,
Last one.
I used to host the show, so.
Over or under, Christopher, LeBron will hit 7 logo threes this season. Not in a game, this season. It is 73 games played.
I'm taking the over, and here's why. He's going to be, what, 37 years old come New Year's Eve? Okay? He doesn't want to engage. He's going to shoot half-court shots all the time just so he doesn't have to run the offense. He's going to hit plenty. He's probably going to hit 10 or 11.
Do you remember how many threes Kobe took his last season? A lot. You know, once these guys get older and they get in the comfort zone with shooting the ball, I think LeBron, he might even hit double digits as far as logo threes. Plus, he knows that we talk about it on our air a lot every time he hits one.
By the way, this is the kind of banter you can expect when Gator and I host our podcast together. We were talking
Locked
about
on
earlier.
Lakers.
I think over. Because he's going to take a lot of them.
Yeah,
He's
because
going
he's
after
not
it.
going to
He's
play a
getting
lot. He's only going to play 30 games.
And when you shoot from the
gonna have all that
logo, you don't got to go all the way over there to the
He
basket.
hates
He's
this
going to
game.
shoot a
All of
lot
it.
from the logo. You know why? Because so are Dame and so are Steph, and it's
Right.
fun, and people do it now.
That might-
That's
that
what the
might have-
kids. That's what the kids do in the NBA now.
That segment might have won you guys an Emmy. Congratulations. Welcome back. There have been a lot of changes this offseason in the NBA, so it's time to play around a fill-in-the-blank around the league edition. Are you ready?
Sure.
Brez, you're up first.
Try me.
Blank will be the biggest nail-biting team matchup.
I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. I'm thinking Grizzlies, Hornets. In like early, no? Okay, I'm going to go with Nets, Lakers because it's evident these two teams are on a collision course to see each other in June. We're going to be back to the regular schedule. No more championships in October or July. It's back to June now, which is huge. And I can't wait to see this game on Christmas. They play only one other time. So I think all eyes will be on these two super teams. And they're still going, by the way. Who's going to get Kevin Love if he does get the buyout? It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah,
Can you not give us the same? But you have to.
I cannot not
Charlotte
give you the
Memphis.
same.
triple negative.
To the point that, let's say the Nets somehow lose Game 7 in the conference finals to the Bucks. There's going to be a Game 8 and a Game 9. Like the NBA is going to make
This has to
because
happen.
this has to happen in the finals because it's been like a pandemic and like we've earned this. So
Yeah.
like this is where it's going. The answer is Nets versus Lakers.
All right, that was easy. Let me see if I can be a little bit more difficult for you. Blank will be the most improved team from last season, Brett.
I'm going to go with Golden State. Obviously, getting Clay back whenever that happens sounds like it'll be closer to Christmas than Halloween. That kind of stinks for the Warriors. Also, 2 lottery picks now on that team. We'll see what James Wiseman could do as far as maybe some season 2 improvement. Kind of injury prone and a little ineffective at times in his rookie year. But wow, I mean, these guys, they're already the second choice in Vegas as far as finish in the Western Conference. Be ready for a big jump up for the team. Did not even make the playoffs.
Yeah, I kind of- I
0-2
forgot
in the
about
play-in
that.
games.
Right.
That's right, BK. You're not perfect.
I forgot. No, but like I consider last year with Clay, like that's like a gap year. It's like
It
they
kinda
were
is.
supposed
Yeah,
to be
right.
good, and then they weren't, and now they'll be good again. I went here with the Memphis Grizzlies because they don't have that like Chris Paul ingredient to push them top, but in terms of a team that can make that internal improvement, John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Dylan Brooks, guys like that, and could suddenly be a lot better than people expect. Memphis.
Well, Jared
Memphis, I like that
Jackson
one.
missed almost the whole season.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a really good play.
Yeah.
Brez, blank will be the most impactful addition.
I think I went with Westbrook, and I was thinking about maybe another player or two, but to me, here's why he's impactful. Everyone's going to be watching and talking about the Lakers. So you got the media standpoint for sure. Completely new look to this team that not even a year ago won it all. I mean, that was last October, right? I mean, this is crazy that they're able to add a guy with this caliber of play. Will it translate to a title? I don't know. You know, Vegas seems pretty enlightened to the fact that it's either them or Brooklyn, but huge impact player. Just can't wait to see it all in the court together.
Okay.
I went with Kyle Lowry here in Miami because, and I thought about Russ, but the difference is the Lakers were already going to be championship contenders with just LeBron and AD, and regardless of what they did. Kyle Lowry takes Miami and puts them back into that conversation. I don't think they're the favorites in the East. Obviously, that's Brooklyn, and then, you know, certainly Milwaukee probably after that. But Miami's now right in that space of like, if something goofy happens, this team could really have a big impact.
Yeah, I like that one. Brez, blank has the most exciting new look.
I think the Lakers, pretty much for the reason I just talked about, Russell Westbrook. I mean, this guy's motor, it never ends. I mean, he is just a human fireball going up and down the court night after night. He'll be useful for those games in Charlotte and against BK's most improved team, Memphis. The nights where you're on the road, maybe it's the 6th game in 10 days away from Staples Center. You need someone to bring that fire, and he will be that guy. Does he ever take games off? Does he ever take quarters off? I mean, it's crazy what he's been able to do throughout the length of his career. Fun guy to watch, for sure.
Real company guy, Perez, here. The Lakers
BK.
I went with the Charlotte Hornets.
Really?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because people are actually going to pay attention to the Charlotte Hornets this year. They've been turned over to LaMelo Ball. They've added Kelly Oubre. They picked up a Plumlee, one of the good ones.
He had a great year.
They had a really good draft. Like, this is a team that all of a sudden people are going to be paying a little bit more attention to, mostly because of guys like LaMelo Ball, which is something that nobody has ever said in the history of these Charlotte Hornets, that somebody's going to. And
can't forget Hayward either. He's good.
That's right. This is not a bad team over there.
Although they lost Devontae Graham.
They did.
A very good 6th man for them.
All right, final one. Blank will have the most home wins, Brez, in the West.
God, BK, don't accuse me of being a company guy again, but the Lakers. I mean, who else will be better than them record-wise in the West? I mean, Golden State, again, no Clay for probably a couple months. That's a little bit of an issue. Utah, they might win a lot of games at home. They might actually have more than the Lakers, but we all know they've had struggles in the playoffs. So just, I'll say the Lakers, the most wins, and sure, the most home wins as well in the West.
You just said they might actually have more wins than the team that I picked.
But they always lose
aside from actually beating them in the category that I was.
Aside from that, actually answering the question.
I picked the Lakers because.
You did too.
Mr. Company Guy.
I thought
over
about
the Suns?
Actually, over Utah was the team that I was thinking. Because it's usually Utah that's in. But the Lakers, I think, were the team in the NBA that was hurt the most by not having a home crowd. They're going to have that boost. They have an early home schedule that's very favorable to them at a time where there'll be a lot of energy for them to pile up some wins. And they've just historically, when go back to the title season, were excellent at home. So I think if it's not them, it'll be Utah.
You a company guy too?
I'm willing to be.
We'll be back with more on Access when we return.
I am for sale.
I am for sale.
It's actually it's an open gig. If anybody out there is interested, hit me up on Twitter.
So does that mean Andy has to slide, or
he is expendable? He is,
That you're so wrong. You know who's not expendable? Chris McGee. He'll be joining us later in the show.
I would agree with that. Is he available? I would love to host a show with Geeter.
With Geeter?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I can slide if you would like.
He's our guy. BK, sorry, bud.
Oh, well.
Good to see the both of you. We got a packed show. The Lakers were busy this week, as we are already, as they continue to fill up another one of their remaining roster spots on Monday. Free agent, former Laker, Rajon Rondo has agreed to join the Lakers on a one-year deal. Rondo played a combined 45 games for the Hawks and Clippers last season, averaging 17 minutes a game. Now, Rajon was a big part of the Lakers' 2020 championship team, in case you forgot. The 17th title in franchise history. His numbers that season were solid in the regular season, but as is often the case with Rondo, playoff Rondo was even better. All offensive numbers were on the rise. And Brez caught up with Rondo at the Lakers facility. He shared why he made a return to the purple and gold.
This is the caliber of people that work in this organization. And obviously the opportunity to win another championship. It's a special team this year, it's a special group, and I'm looking forward to doing what I do best, is trying to develop chemistry with everybody and figure out how we can win.
A lot of new faces since you last played for this franchise. How do you see the Westbrook and LeBron and the AD triangle kind of working out?
3 future Hall of Famers, 3 super elite talents on the court at one time, 3 great minds. It should work.
What are you hoping to bring to this team? Obviously, your leadership was pretty key, as well as your play on the court in the playoffs 2 seasons ago.
Whatever it takes, on and off the court. being a professional, ready when my name is called, and just keeping the guys together most likely. Whatever the team needs, like I said, as far as from Frank, being the player, bridge gap player, just trying to help the team as many ways as possible.
LeBron had a funny tweet earlier this month. He said, hey, don't call this team too old. I'm going to remember anyone who said that. What are your thoughts on this franchise? Indeed, some older players on the roster right now.
We do have a lot of great older players on the team, but like I said, great. And I'm looking forward to picking their minds, learning from them. And I go actually from being the oldest guy on the team to I think maybe I'm fifth now, so I haven't been that way in a while. So I'm looking forward to just kind of being around the guys and, like I said, being a sponge and learning from those great minds.
Interesting you see that. So you really are going to talk to them about what they're up to, what they've been doing, and anything that you might be able to pick up on too.
Well, it's just about learning and watching, their work ethic. Guys don't play in this league 16, 18, 17 years without discipline and being a strict diet to their body. So this will be my 16th season as well, so we can all learn from each other.
A few of you guys, Trevor, you and Dwight, you won championships with the franchise here, and then you came back. What do you think is the thing about this franchise that kind of has a magnetism to it?
It's where all the greats have played. All the greats have played. All the greats have won. The best franchise in basketball, arguably. Top two for sure. So it's a special place. Putting on this jersey, this uniform, and with all the names on the walls, you just kind of, you get a sense of urgency as far as just understanding what it takes to win and want to put your name along the walls versus these banners as well.
All right, guys, not to toot my own horn, but a couple of days ago on this show, Geeter was hosting, and he asked us who we would like to see as part of one of those last 3 roster spots. And Rajon Rondo was my guy.
Wow.
I said, I would like to see Rondo come back to the Lakers.
So
Here we are a couple days later.
Do you get like a percentage of his
I don't.
game checks or something?
But nonetheless, you know how I feel about this, because now I'm going to ask both of you. We'll start with you. How do you feel about Rondo? Back.
You know what? Like in a year especially where they have so many new players, like they've completely turned over this roster. When you look at the role that he's probably going to play as a third point guard, probably some DNPs in there. He's not going to play every night, not going to play big minutes. What he is incredibly predictable. The coaching staff knows him. The stars of this team know him. Everybody knows exactly what Rondo's going to be able to give you. So that when he does need to play, whether it's because, Russell Westbrook is out for a couple games or whatever it might be, it's an easy fit. It's an easy ask for the coaching staff. They don't have to figure out how are we going to use Rajon. They know, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, some excellent points. And let's not forget what he does in the postseason. I know he kind of didn't do as much for the Clippers this past year, but I go back to 2 seasons ago, 19 points in the clincher, Game 6 of the NBA Finals, 16 points and 10 assists in Game 2 of that series. Great against Houston in the first round that year, averaged 11 and 7. So he can obviously turn it up if needed to. I really was fascinated by what he told me earlier today when he said, hey, I'm going to be asking some of these guys for tips and for things that they've done in their career. How is he the 6th oldest player on any team ever?
It's a badly needed injection of youth, Mike.
We got Rondo. Now they're going to really bring down the average age of this team. It's a great pickup no matter what, and I can tell he's happy to be back with the Lakers.
Yeah, with someone like him, to your point, Brez, with a mind like that, a resume like that, to still want to learn at this stage of his career speaks volumes of him. We're going to cover all bases for a second, okay? This is just a little something light, but let me take you back to 2020 Western Conference semis, Houston Lakers, Westbrook, Rondo's brother from the sidelines. Can Westbrook and Rondo get along? BK?
Yeah, I mean, I think they didn't sign Rondo's brother or Russ's brother. I mean, it's like this. I think they'll be able to figure this out.
I said something light, and I said cover all bases.
I think, but it is a great little side story of just like, but this is one of these deals as you're on the other team, you're butting heads, all that kind of stuff. As soon as you're on the same side, everybody's getting along again. These are competitive people with competitive families, but it'll be fine.
I think it was during that time, too, we all realized that we want fans back in the stands for things like that.
Yes.
To an extent.
Yeah. I mean, I actually forgot about it, so we started talking about it earlier today. My thing on that is this. This team there's so much professionalism on this team. There's so much age among this group of guys. Maybe if this happened when Russ and Rondo were each like 23 and 25, that'll be a problem if it was only a year or two after that. They don't care about that. They both have one common goal, that's to win a championship. And I don't worry about that at all. A little side story, by the way, as I'm talking to Rondo, we didn't show that in the interview. Trevor Ariza walked onto the court, the practice court, the training facility, started heckling Rondo, saying, where were you for weightlifting today? You know, what's wrong with you? And Rondo was like, okay, yeah, get me on the group text. Let's do this. Let's do this. I don't sense any problems at all among the veteran guys and even the younger guys on this team.
BK just kind of talked about it in terms of will he play every single night? You don't know. He's not your backup essentially, but how do you think Rondo will impact this team? Obviously a bit different than the team he had in 2020.
Yeah, the second unit was all his in 2020. That might not be the case this time. You know, I could see Russ spending a lot of time with the second unit while LeBron takes a breather towards the end of the first quarter, early second quarter, and same for like end of third, early fourth quarter. Rondo's going to have to pick his spots, and he experienced that a little bit last season with the Clippers. I think he only played in 3 of their games against the Suns in the Western Conference Finals. So, you know, I think Rondo's already starting to realize, okay, here I am on a minimum contract. You know, that's not a ton of money for him. He was just coming off a 2-year, $15 million deal that he signed with Atlanta before the buyout. So he might realize, all right, I'm just going to blend in. I'm just going to fill in the cracks whenever I'm asked to. He might not even be the starting point guard on the second unit. We'll have to see what Frank Vogel says about that.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I hope we don't need to see playoff Rondo. Like, I think if things are going well for the Lakers, he's not going to be a fundamental part of that playoff rotation either. But where I think he will play a big role is filling that kind of that Jared Dudley space where, you know, LeBron has deep respect for Rondo, AD, all these guys, you know, Russell Westbrook, the coaching staff, they all have a tremendous amount of respect. And Rondo is a guy who's very well respected by older players and younger players in almost every locker room he's ever been in. And so I think he fills that role, and it's an important one. Maybe not in as media friendly a way as Duds did. We all love Duds, and we don't, you know, Rondo doesn't talk to us the same way. But for that team, I think he fills a very similar role.
There is something there. Frank Vogel said that's the one thing he missed, having the voice and presence of Rondo inside the